Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting of the Woodford County Fiscal Court's Budget and Finance Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Squire Taylor.
Here.
Squire Varner.
Here.
Squire Carl.
Here.
Judge Executive Kevin.
Yes, ma'am. So we are duly constituted to do business under the Budget and Finance Committee. I would like it noted that this is our second Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and our departments and agencies, in addition to all their duties responding to the floods, are also diligently working on their budgets. And we're having some productive conversations along the lines of those budgets. So the several things that I want to just make sure everybody has in front of them. Pursuant to the statute and the deadline for the budget calendar of April 1st, you received the detention center's budget, preliminary budget. And I'd like to let the record reflect same. You also have before you the draft preliminary coroner budget on non-personnel expenses, the EMS budget, the recycling and solid waste budget, and I circulated the county attorney's annual letter regarding the salaries for both the assistant county attorneys and the deputy, which would also be the same for the deputy coroners as well. And Mr. County Attorney, the way that we do that is that in our next meeting, our next fiscal court meeting, pursuant to the timeline, we will entertain a motion that we will pass a cost of living adjustment that would be in the same amount of 2.9%, which is the CPI for this year, so long as that would be the same as we would give to all the other employees, county government employees, or whatever we pass in the budget would be commensurate with our deputy county attorney, or assistant county attorney and deputy coroners.
Thank you, Judge. That would be my request at your April 22nd meeting. Again, the coroner doesn't ask me to do this, but the deputies' salaries also have to be set by the first Monday in May, just as for the assistant county attorney. So I would be asking you then to set it at 2.9% or at whatever figure is ultimately approved by the fiscal court. So thank you for that consideration.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. And as you all know, that will be what we take up at our next meeting. And Madam Clerk, I'll give you the original copy of that letter. So we do have Director McDaniel for recycling and solid waste with us. And Director McDaniel, is it your intention to present your budget to the Budget and Finance Committee this evening? Thank you.
The one that I turned in would be my presented budget.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, so everybody, let me give everybody the opportunity to have that in front of them. We got everybody pulling it up there. So, Director McDaniel, let me go ahead and start by saying thanks for all the work and preliminary work you're doing for the flood, debris disposal, and planning and preparation for that. I want to let folks know that our plans are to have the largest scale debris disposal and flood disposal that we've probably ever seen.
We've been working on that this afternoon with our metal, the people that do our metal, because the landfill does not take anything with refrigerant, so that would mean refrigerators and freezers would not be able to be in that, just thrown in with the rest of the appliances. But we were talking with our metal hauler to see if maybe we could work out something with them, and that way we could segregate the metal, and then they would take care of that for us, and we would not be using Rumpke or double handling it. So they're immune to that. So.
Well, and thank you for that. And I know we have Bo and Tracy from the road department as well, and we'll all be working together on a plan to take care of everybody's needs as it reflects.
We've had a bunch come in today. So
Already.
just local houses, 2 foot of water, sump pumps failed, things like that. So we've had a bunch come in today. So, and with a lot of calls. So.
And when we're down in the flood areas, Director Chandler and myself have had those questions as well. So, thank you for that brief update. So we'll go through and let you talk about your budget. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Public advertising, public relations, that just stayed the same. We did up our overtime for an additional 1,000 because we are at 13,855, and with the events that we've had coming up, and then we do the Saturday work, which still saves the county money by doing that. So we did raise that 1,000. Kept the public relations and advertising the same. Equipment maintenance, it's been kind of all over the board with the repairs that we've had to make. I landed on 9,000 simply because the last one was 75. But this time with using the burn box, we might possibly need an additional service on the excavator, and that runs about $1,500. So I put that additional $1,500 because we'll be running that more hours, and we want to make sure we have the money to do the service on it. That is something we do want to keep up with it. So that was the additional $1,500 I put in there.
And Madam Director, if you don't mind me asking, we did have the situation with the Bobcat as you're referencing.
Correct.
Is there any need to add any additional funds even above what you've put in there? Because it's better to be safe than sorry.
We can. I'm trying to initially do a conservative budget, and then we, talk it out. But and not having any idea what repairs are coming down the road, we could add more to that. I mean, we could bump that to 10 if you'd like. And that way we'll be covered, or less. I mean, it's just kind of, I'm trying to look at that. 9. Oh, I have 9. Not really knowing what, but we could add. You want to go up to 12 on that? That way we'd have that little buffer.
Well, so I'm reviewing 22, 23, 24, and 24, 25, and we're clearly
right
in excess of the budgeted amount. In a couple of those years, we're well in excess.
Those are big, major repairs. So,
and do you anticipate anything like that? I know it's difficult.
It's hard, just because usually if it goes down, it just goes down.
So for the purposes of this review, I would just like the fiscal court just to notate line 9. And we'll do a little bit more discussion on that.
Yeah, Judge, I'd say for your all's expectations, just to have a little bit more of a, or a significant more, given those past years' experience, and then it'd be a great thing to come in well under. So,
yeah,
I mean, I
definitely. So, but I'm entering a conservative budget.
Sure, no, absolutely.
So that one we will notate.
Okay.
On vehicle maintenance, the 18 or the 14,000, we added that bed that we built on that truck. I think that was included in that fee right there. We put that bed on the new truck we got. So that was why that amount was so much higher this time, because we put that budgeted for that bed for the pickup truck. So I went to 5,000 on that because we had been normally, up until we'd been pretty much under that if we took away the bed on the truck. So
Yeah.
the dumpsters, I mean, I'm hoping that's going to come in well under 300. I went ahead and bumped it to 300 and kept it was 325 because I feel like once we get the burn box totally up and running, that's gonna really, that dumpster line item's gonna go down. But I also know that this year we have to, this is the year we have to either decide we're gonna rebid the contract or we're going to extend it. I recommend extension because they were way under any competitor. So I did leave it at 300, which was 25,000 less than what we had budgeted last year, and I think we'll come in under that. But just to let you know that we will be talking contract extension with them very soon, probably next month.
That's a positive
Yeah.
direction for that line item to be going.
Definitely, and again, I anticipate that to come in under. The household hazardous waste and paint disposal, we've kept it at like 25 because the state has really cut our grant. You know, I'll send in a grant for 50,000 and they'll send us 35. So they've cut our grant, and there's really no reason why apparently, but they've just kind of given people each year what they got the last year. So as far as the household hazardous waste and paint disposal, I kept that at 25. The recycling fee, we've not used that for a couple years, but if something happens to Lexington and they decide that we're not meeting, you know, they sell everything and divide the money, and you see a couple years ago we did owe recycling fees, but I just keep it in there as a buffer because I don't know how the recycling is going to go.
Sure.
The IT contracted services, I think that's something Bev has just always put in there. I don't really know. I know we used it a couple years ago, but I really don't know what that's for.
So,
Do you know, Jordan?
well, no, I mean, so it was for our transition from our phones and some of the additional IT contracted services we were needed and able to do that.
Okay.
That's why it's not recurring. But we'll double check to see
Yeah.
with both Director Chandler and Bev.
Right. The IT part, when they're doing things with the phone system and stuff, I'm like, okay, they take care of that, and they tell me my phone's working, so that works.
And to your point, and I appreciate that you're submitting a conservative budget, but we also being conservative is budgeting for things that you may not spend, and then if you don't spend it, then
Yeah, it's good.
That's a positive, net positive.
Okay. The data processing, we have had the same program for 13 years, and it's glitchy, it kicks us out, things like that. We were looking for a new computer this year and to get a new, the Data Bridge program, to update that program. So there's two different programs, and I want to see which one. We have an SS, and we may bump it to an MS program. It's just a lot. But right now, when you've got a line of 6 people and you get kicked out and she has to have them come back to reweigh, this program's just, I think 13 years has kind of served well. So we would like to get a new Data Bridge program, new computer, new printer for the front scale house. And that probably run between $2,000 to $2,500. Getting them pinned down was very hard on that. Gas and oil, I just left it at 24, which is what we had last year. Especially now that we're going to be running the burn box, that'll be more diesel. So, let's see. Office supplies, I did go to 6,000 on that, simply because we're looking at almost 5, and we've still got a couple more months to go, and the toners for the printers and that type of thing, especially as much as we run the printer out to the front scale house. That's one of the things I'd like to see if we could get it where they don't have to print every ticket, but right now they do. Supplies, I went to 6,000 on it. That's our toilet paper, and that's just our catch-all. Just anything that we don't have really a toilet paper and cleaning supplies and all that falls into that category. Boots and uniforms, there's 9 of us, but I don't want to take any boots, so I just put that at 800 because I really don't need them and I have a brand new pair at home that I haven't worn yet. Tire disposal, left that at 2,000. Right now I think we're on the end of our grant money, and that's only when the grant money runs out. When the $4,000 grant money runs out, then we pick up the rest, and luckily we're still doing good, and I think that's because of the tire event we had in October, so we're not seeing as many tires. Telephone, I left it static at 2,800. Training, we haven't used it for a couple years, but I like to keep that in there just in case there was something that came up, an opportunity, to do something, then we would have that in there. Utilities, I left it static at the 12,000. Building maintenance, I put 6 down for that. The 34 was, we had the concrete poured down in the bottom. We had doors put in, so it'll kind of go back now to just our usual building maintenance stuff, which is like our spray, our pest control and those things. All of our ADT, we put that in that category. We have to have ADT. That's one of the stipulations for us keeping money on property. We have to have an ADT system. So that falls into that category.
And that's number 27 and Squire Taylor, you recognize?
Yes.
Was the year before that our new scale house? Was that where that came from?
43.
No. Oh,
It may have been the little one, the back one.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, the
yes.
back
I
one.
didn't mean to. Yes, thank you.
so the number 27 building maintenance, and it's a similar scenario with number 9 in that, I mean, at least the last 3 years.
We've done projects with that, like last year we did all that concrete down in the bottom. We put that under building maintenance.
Yes.
The garage doors, we've replaced 4 garage doors.
Yes.
That's what we did with that.
Do we see any of those
I don't
this
see
next
any,
year?
not anything that I know of. I mean, that's mostly like I said, the ADT, the pest control, that type of thing is what will come out of that this year. We did put in a new vehicle that is through state contract pricing for a 24 Chevrolet pickup through Bachman, state contract pricing. We have 2 trucks that are dying or on their last leg, and we would like to do away with them and get one. We've also put in for a lift gate for this truck. That would put us having a new truck with a lift gate, because right now you see all these silver bins we have around town. The old lift gate truck we have now, we beat and bang on it to see if it'll work, and when it works, we'll go out and get the bin and pick it up, but if it doesn't work, we have to wait until it works. That lift gate truck, is over 25 years. I mean, it's been there since I've been there. So, and it will haul our school trailers too. So this would be a multi-purpose truck, and we would do away with 2 of our trucks in the fleet. Office equipment, 1,500.
Let me
Yes,
go
sir.
back to that if you don't
Yes,
mind. The 49.9 is the state price contract?
Yes.
And are you anticipating that the additional expenses would be from the surplus and potential auction of any of the old truck to get it outfitted?
I don't know that you could get anything for those 2 old trucks.
Well, I'm just saying that the 49.9 then is probably not sufficient to cover the rest of the.
The lift gate's down here on a separate.
What about striping and that sort of stuff? Have you calculated?
Well,
that?
actually, right now, we're working with Tracy to take care of our vehicles.
Okay.
We made our own.
We made our own.
So
she asked me if I maybe could make theirs, and I can try.
All right. These are,
That's why I asked questions.
that's why we
that's-
get into the budget details. It's better to budget those items. I would say 28, my experience is, the bottom line state price contract is, there's always usually some additional expense for the new vehicle, and, we can just mark that for further review. That may change in my budget.
And I thought with that's possibility that we may have to, check around, price some other vehicles. And, I wasn't sure if the state contract pricing would be sufficient. And I'm sorry, I skipped over line 19, which is 6,200, which is for the lift gate. And that is installation of the lift gate.
All right.
And 1,500 would be for a new computer and printer for the front scale house. And then the grants, of course, again, I said I put in a grant for 51,000, and I might get 30-ish, so.
All right. So let me ask folks questions to Director McDaniel regarding the proposed budget, any of the line items that we've already discussed. I know we've pretty much gone through it, but any questions or comments? Of course, you can always reach Director McDaniel offline. Yes. We'll have some continued conversations with the treasurer and myself and go over the items. So you can anticipate that there could be some shifting of some of the line items up slightly as we get a little bit more information. But Director McDaniel, thank you for
No problem.
your work on this. And we also have... You have the...
Now, that is a Joe thing. Can you let him get here in a minute
Sure.
and take care of that?
Yeah.
I kind of sent that to him, and I said, I want you to handle this, and he has taken that ball. So if you would let him get here, and
Yes.
because we anticipated it to be further down.
That is
Okay.
that is
Thank you.
absolutely okay. Thank you, Director McDaniel, and we will follow up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Speaking of which, the detention center budget, if anybody has any questions on that, I'd encourage you to reach out to Jailer Michelle Rankin and ask any questions, do any research that you need that way. The same for the coroner's budget. But are there any specific questions or comments regarding either of those budgets that I could help with or have any discussion on? Seeing none. Director Bailey, would you like to discuss your preliminary EMS budget with the court? We're early enough in the process where if you need more time or you want to work on it, although you've had yours in for some time now, so we'll call you up. And I started off my discussion with Director McDaniel talking about flood response and all they're doing, and we want to thank you and our paramedics and EMTs for everything you've done over the past week at least, but particularly in checking out folks that have been retrieved from the floodwater and making sure they're okay, and that sort of stuff. It just goes a long way. It means a lot. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I think it'd be good to start at number 9,
All right.
if that's where you'd like to start.
Our ambulance maintenance agreements, that's all of our contracts that we have that, with our vendors for software, things like that, items like that. We increased that line item, from what it was. We went up $4,000 on that one. We have new software that we got to purchase for our training, to be able to train the paramedics and EMTs with. And the state has went to where all their hours can now be done online as well. So it's a lot easier than trying to get instructors brought in and et cetera. So we've got a line item for that increased that one. Any questions on that line? And then it goes to line 10. We stayed the same with that one. Line item number 11 stayed the same. 12 stayed the same. 13 is the same. 14 is the same. 15 stayed the same. 16, no changes. 17, no changes. 18, no changes. Line item 19, which is our medical supplies. That line item went up $5,000 just due to the cost of supplies. Everything costs more now. So we're struggling with that, and we typically will spend the bulk of that line item. We'd be very conservative. One of the biggest things that hurts us on that is the state requires expiration dates on pretty much everything we have, and we cannot have anything on the truck that that is expired. So we have to replace that stuff whether we use it or not. So that's what's helped drive that cost up on line item number 19. Number 20 stayed the same. 21 stayed the same. 22, which is our building maintenance fund, that one went down 16,000. We was able to drop that one, which helps. And that's due to the fact that, you know, we've been trying to keep our buildings maintenance the best that we can. And we shouldn't have as much expenses this time. On line 22. Line 23, that's our phones. It went up 500. We're going to jockey those line items around a little bit. That includes our internet and our telephones and our TVs. And as you know, MetroNet dropped all their TV channels. They no longer provide TV. So we're having to use things like YouTube TV and Hulu TV in order to be able to get into stations, which actually is a good savings for us, because once we buy that for $90, we can put it on all the TVs in the station at one cost. And where we was using MetroNet and then we had to pay for each box individually. We had to pay for same thing with Spectrum, each box. Well, where we're at Midway, there's no TV services on that side of the track. So that's the only thing we could do. But we bumped it 500 just because that line item was getting close. As you can see through the budget right now, we've spent the bulk of that. Let's see. 24 is our training budget. That line item went up on this, but it will actually come out of that line item. I believe it shows a $11,000 increase. Is that correct? Is that what y'all see? That will come down and come out of that, because that we have an individual that's going to paramedic school. It's one of our EMTs that live here in town, and if we invest in those guys, we're better off, because if I lose a paramedic, I don't have to go look for one. We'll have one to replace it with. But we're going to pay for that out of this year's budget. I've got money left over from where we didn't do some of the projects that we was going to do with the building. And so when we withdrew those projects, we're going to get a transfer, ask for a transfer to switch that money into that training budget and go ahead and pay it in advance to get that. Well, not in advance. They've started class already. But we'll be able to pay for that out of this year's budget, so that actually will drop back down $11,000 off of that. That's one change that I can get to make after I submitted it. Line item 25 stayed the same. 26 is the utilities. And that line item, I think we've got it right now at the same. We're working with Bev on a couple lines there to find out if, when we jockey some of those numbers around, the money is still the same. It's just it'll go to a different line item. Like the TVs, we're going to move that to a different line item out and take it out of the other category. Line item 27 went down $5,000 as well. That's our fixtures and stuff for the furnishings. As you all know, just like at your house, you have to replace things occasionally. Couches, chairs, different things like that. These guys live in these buildings 24/7. So, we just keep a small amount in there to where if we need to purchase something, we can to replace that stuff. 28, nothing there. 29 stayed the same. 30 is our ambulance equipment. That line item remained the same. 31 is the medical equipment. That line is the same at 5. 32. I'm not quite sure what that one is. I didn't do anything with that line item because I'm not quite sure. That's something I think that Melody works with, so I didn't touch that line item. Our grant money, the line item 34, which is ambulance equipment, our grant that we get from Kentucky Board of EMS is $10,000. We're expecting to get that same $10,000. We pass all of our inspections without any deficiencies, so we're good on that. So our budget actually dropped by $11,600, but once I remove the other one out of that line item, it could go down another $11,000, so it could be $22,000 less than what last year's budget was. Any questions on?
Question.
Yes, Squire Taylor, you're recognized.
The ambulance line item, or the vehicle rather, I guess what we're having repaired right now will come out of this year's. Do we think we'll have it expended?
That is which one are you talking about repaired?
Texas.
No, the Texas one, there's no cost. That's all warranty work.
I forgot. Thank you.
And there's a line item, there's 250-something thousand in this year's budget. That's for the new ambulance that we purchased.
Okay.
For the one that was wrecked during that storm. And
Yes.
that was all compensated. So this is not money that's actually out of our budget. It's money we got back off insurance that covered that. So that line item is just there waiting. We're expecting to get that truck by the end of May. So it will come out, that money will be expended out of that budget as well.
I just know it takes a long time with some of them sometimes, and I just wanted to make sure we didn't.
We haven't put one in this year's budget. We decided everybody needed a break from us, so we didn't put one in. We do still have a 2009 model that we'll probably ask for next year's, but not next year, but the year after, to replace that truck, because it will be well past its age, and getting parts is near impossible anymore for them. But and that'll get us to where we'll be in pretty good shape for a little while. But we've tried to be as conscious of our spending as we can. And we're going to try to do some of the other projects that we have out of this year's budget that we have extra money in. Some of the line items on the things that we didn't get to do, we're going to try to purchase. Like we have a stretcher system that is in our trucks. We have one old one that is a different model. It's a Fernal brand compared to the ones that we have a Stryker. We've been trying to get a deal worked with the Stryker reps to buy a demo model they have and be able to save about $40,000, $50,000 off of that by buying the demo model and getting it into the truck. And we have that new truck coming So we want to be able to make sure that all of our units match. But I've been working closely with Melody and with Bev on our budget, and we should have enough excess of money out of this year's budget from where we haven't expended some of the projects we was going to do to cover the cost of those. So we're going to try to spend everything out of this year's budget to where we can make next year's a lot more tight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Squire Taylor. Other questions for the EMS director? I've gone through a lot of this with him, worked on it for several months, so I'm very familiar. Any other questions or comments about the EMS budget? Seeing none, do you have anything else on the agenda? You have your training agreement.
I do.
Do you want to just kind of give us some
I can give you a
some
quick
background
brief
on that?
across the training agreement. That's the one that we're having for the paramedic that's going to school right now. It's basically the same agreement that we've had for the other students who went to school. We had Alan go across it, make adjustments that needed to be done, wording, clear it up a little bit, make it a little more professional. We had to change the cost. The paramedic program went from $7,500. They originally told me $11,000, but they gave us a $1,000 discount because I sat on the board to help with their program, and they gave us a break because we continue to send students to the training. So ours, the invoice came in at $10,000. So the agreement will show $10,000. I think you all got the agreement sent to you with everything on that, and that's something that we're going to look at tonight to present to the court tonight to get them to approve that agreement to where we can activate that and get it going. And then next budget, we didn't put it on this budget, but not budget, next court meeting, we're going to ask to be able to transfer those funds from out of my building fund account to the training fund account to pay for that paramedic going to class out of this year's budget.
Thank you for that update, Director Bailey. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? We can take up some of those now, or obviously in fiscal court, but it is a matter of budget and finance.
Bev told me to wait till the 22nd.
There's some cross discussion between the treasurer and the EMS director. Don't make sure she doesn't have a ruler.
They keep me in line quite well.
Well, we appreciate it. Any other questions for Director Bailey regarding the budget, other items? Nope. You know, Director Bailey, we really appreciate it. You're always on top of it with watching your finances and expenses, so thank you very, very much.
And I would like the gentleman that we're sending to the class, the paramedic that is going, he's got several years of experience as a EMT. They moved to Woodford County and bought a house, so he wants this to be his forever home. And I feel very confident in sending him to school to get his paramedic license, and he'll be here long term for us.
That's a great program, and appreciate you being on the forefront of making sure stuff like that happens. Thank you, Director Bailey. You are excused from this meeting. Moving on in our items of the Budget and Finance Committee. Just to recap, we've discussed the Assistant County Attorney, Deputy Coroners, Detention Center budget, Coroner budget, EMS budget, Recycling Solid Waste budget. Are there any other budget items, Madam Clerk, that we could go over? Or okay, we'll continue the process of submitting preliminary budgets so that these line items are not new to you when you see them at the presentation of my budget. Will be on or before May 1st. Does anybody have any questions about the budget timeline, the process, any of the agency or departments' budgets that you've had the opportunity to review so far? Seeing none, I'd like to move on to the indigent burial fund request. We discussed that in our last fiscal court meeting. I need to make a clarification. So we had several quotes related to cremation for the deceased individual that is currently in possession of the coroner's office. And we had a quote for $1,000 from Blackburn and Ward Funeral Home and $750 from Great Crossing Funeral and Cremation. But that $1,000 Blackburn and Ward cost included the anticipated fees for the court costs that would be associated with having that process take place. So as we discussed last time, there needs to be a petition with the court for us to be, or for anyone to be able to cremate a body without any next of kin or family member that would be responsible for the deceased. And so the Blackburn and Ward quote for cremation would be $750 as well. Both of those quotes would require additional expense to pay for the court costs. So essentially, they are the same quote, in addition to the other quotes that were provided to you by the court clerk. So there needs to be a decision point made by the committee, Budget and Finance Committee, to recommend to the full fiscal court to take up in our next, or in our fiscal court meeting. But I needed to clarify that. So it is the will of the court, and I will allow the committee to make that recommendation of the quotes to the court. Yes, Mr. County Attorney.
Just to remind you procedurally, and the judge kind of touched on this near the end of the initial discussion we had on this, you all decide how much and to whom the appropriation will go, how much it will be and to whom it will go. They then, knowing that they're going to be funded for it, would petition the district court here across the street to have the judge authorize they may cremate the body. So they're both waiting to act depending upon who the bid's awarded to or who the expenditure is awarded to, and then they'll go file the petition in the district court and have the funding for the cremation. So you all decide who should receive that $750, and that entity will then file a petition across the street in district court to get the judge to approve them cremating the body at that cost.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. So given that background and information, is there a recommendation from the committee? Squire Varner, you recognize.
I would recommend to use Blackburn Ward.
So would you form that in the motion?
I move to use the Blackburn Ward expenditure for the indigent burial fund that we have in front of us.
Thank you, Squire Varner. There's a motion on the table.
Second.
There's a second. I'd like to open up the floor for any discussion or questions thereon. Disquestions? I heard you, Kenneth. I like to be efficient. Seeing that there's no disquestions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please vote, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. And we will move on. We have the road material bids, and we have our road supervisor with us, road supervisor, operations supervisor, and they have made recommendations to you. Let me ask first, does anybody have any questions for them upon their recommendations? Okay, yeah, come on up.
So on the road material bids, you have everything except the fluids. That was not submitted correctly to us. The one vendor that bid that particular item didn't do the whole thing, so we would like to have you all grant us the option of rebidding that, and we can get that done fairly quickly if you'll say okay.
So you need an additional,
What we need to do is rebid the fluids, which is like all the oil dry, the grease, the things that the shop uses for vehicle maintenance.
so, I would say that we would need a motion to accept the bids for the road materials as recommended by the road supervisor, excluding the fluids.
Fluids.
And I'll have a separate motion for the request to rebid and advertise those. So is there a motion to accept the bids for the road materials as recommended by the road supervisor, exclusive of the fluids bids? Motion by Squire Carl.
Second.
Second by Squire Varner. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that motion carries. We also need a motion to authorize the rebid and advertisement for road fluids in light of the motion just made. Motion by Squire Carl, second by Squire Taylor. Are there any questions for the operations supervisor thereon? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Madam Road Supervisor. Did you all have anything on the court meeting that,
We do not.
then you are more than welcome to be excused, particularly because I continue to talk about the flood response and those things. I want to recognize Supervisor Bo Wilson for last week's storms, both Sunday and Wednesday, the tornado warnings. Bo was had a few road crew out for various reasons. We have folks that are out short-term and long-term, and he took it upon himself in many occasions to go take care of a lot of problems on the road, including trees down, chainsawing, all kinds of other work, and that's the type of going above and beyond for a supervisor, leading by example, that we just really appreciate. Supervisor Wilson, thank you so much. We're so lucky to have you. Yeah, I think that deserves a round of applause. And I know you're worn out. I've seen you all over the roads in the flooded areas, so you're more than welcome to be excused, and you all can head on out if you'd like. Thank you very much. Thank you all. That takes care of our road material bid item. I'd like to return back to the solid waste and recycling quote for concrete. And we have our assistant director, Joe, with us. Joe, if you would mind, please give the committee a briefing on what is before us today.
You have a picture that I had sent in, and it shows the end with all the gravel is where our door is for that burn box. The location of that burn box is sitting, there's no other way we can position that box. So the door, we have to rake the hot ash out of that burn box, and we didn't think it all the way through. When we put the gravel, we just put the gravel down for traction so we could take the Bobcat and rake it out. When we start raking that ash onto that gravel, one, we're going to start spinning with the Bobcat in that loose gravel. Two, we're going to scoop all the gravel away once we go to clear that ash. The only way we can do it is to have solid concrete that we can scrape the ash off and blow the ash off into a pile. We can still utilize giving the ash away to customers that want it for their gardens, and we can also add it to the mulch once it cools. So we have an outlet for the ash, we just don't have a way of getting the ash out without going through $2,000 worth of gravel every time we rake it out. So if The quote that we got, he had done concrete work for us previously. That was Bo's recommendation, his guy to come do the concrete. This is about half as thick as what we normally get. It's only a 4-inch deep concrete pad, but we're not going to have anything heavier than the Bobcat on it. So we won't have our trucks on it. We won't have any equipment on that concrete, just the Bobcat. So we should be fine scraping the ash out of the box and pushing it off into the dirt.
So let me open up the floor for questions. Squire Varney, you recognize, sir.
Joe, the heat won't affect your concrete, correct?
No, it won't. It's the we were warned against the gravel. We could only go, if we went any closer, and there's a lip on that box that comes out from the door, and the gravel starts at that lip. Because gravel and concrete, if you have it inside that box, and we had a piece that got away from us and got in the box, and it blew up and it shot like a bullet out of that box while we were in training. So we're far enough back with that concrete pad. We can't put concrete on the sides, but we can on that end of it, just so we can scrape it out, and we'll just put rock on the sides of it. So
Thank you, Joe.
no, thank you.
Squire Gill, you're recognized.
Yeah, how big a pad are you talking?
It's I don't have the dimensions. Bo went back there and circled, flagged it all off. That pad is a good. I honestly don't have the total dimensions on it. It's a pretty good size. We have to get it far enough, because what you're seeing right here is a rake. Sitting there, so that hooks up to the end of our Bobcat, and then we go in with that rake, and that goes in the length of the box, and then we just rake the ash out. So you're looking at, it's pretty deep toward the brush line, but it's not that wide. So. But it's just a 4-inch pad, and I think he only quoted like $21,900, which I thought was extremely cheap for what we're looking at.
And Joe, this is the same contractor that we've worked with several of our pads, and you're very pleased with all the work they're doing for us.
Yeah, everything that we've got right now is doing great at the center. So.
And the box is working great too. It's just we've got a lot of ash in it right now.
Yeah, it's the only holdup we have is getting the ash out, and we don't want to scoop away. It's $2,000 every time we put that rock down. I don't want to have to keep putting rock down because we keep digging it up.
So I would entertain a motion to recommend to the fiscal court to adopt the quote as presented from the Solid Waste and Recycling Center for $21,900. Is there a motion for same?
Motion.
Motion by Squire Taylor, second by Squire Carl. Let me open the floor for any additional discussions or questions thereon. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to recommend same, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you. It will be on the committee report for final approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on down the line, we had a discussion and presentation from this pitch of Woodford County regarding the batting and hitting complex at the Chandler Field out at Woodford County Park. And we have our Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Rich Pichter, with us. Does anybody have any questions for him, who's been working with me on this specific request along with the county attorney? Does anybody have any questions regarding the presentation, what they're asking, what we're looking at doing there? If not, I think that the most appropriate action for the fiscal court would be to take a recommendation from this committee for the county attorney to work on drafting a preliminary lease agreement so that we can enter in discussions with this pitch regarding their request. So the action would be for us to recommend authorizing the county attorney to work on a lease draft and to discuss that with this pitch and Director Pichter as we move forward. So that being the potential action, are there any questions thereon? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion.
To recommend the authorization of same? Motion by Squire Taylor, second by Squire Carl. Seeing no discussions or question, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And the motion carries unanimously. Mr. County Attorney, sir.
Judge, I will, Rich, who should I be dealing with on this? Should it be the president, Mr. Gresham?
Yeah, probably, yeah. I'm assuming that's who they'll have, but I'll get with him and I'll get in contact with you.
Okay.
If he has someone else, then they'll let you know, they'll get in contact with you.
And I probably, the letter, the cover letter they presented with their pitch for this pitch simply was made reference to a long-term lease for a nominal amount. And clearly, term and amount are primary factors we'll need to discuss. And I just want to make sure at the outset they understand we have to be consistent with what we're doing with others out at the park. So when I hear long-term, I want to make sure they understand that.
Yeah, I'll make sure they're well aware of that.
Okay. Thank you. That will help.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. Thank you, Director Pichter. You're more than welcome to be excused. All right. Moving on to the Young and New Farmer Grant Program. So you all will recall that we requested additional information from several of the young and new farmer applicants so that we can clarify their eligibility under our criteria under the grant program. The court received those responses. I want to give a big shout out and appreciation to the court clerk, as she has done with all of these grants, our neighborhood grants, our COVID grants, our young and new farmer grants. She spends so much time dealing with people on an individual basis, speaking with them directly. It's a level of customer service and public service that we really appreciate, Madam Clerk. So we, upon her work, I believe that if you're looking at your young and new farmer grant sheet there, applicants number 3, 11, and 23, as far as the court clerk and myself are concerned, that they would be eligible for a motion of conditional approval for their young and new farmer grant applications. Again, for just as you're reviewing, that's number 3, 11, and 23. Are there any questions regarding that? If there are no questions, is there a motion to recommend the conditional approval of same to the full fiscal court?
Motion.
There's a motion and a second by Squire Carl. All those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And the motions carry unanimously. As you all know, once we have a conditional approval, we move forward with the grant agreement. And then once that is signed and everything is satisfactory, we move forward with the disbursement, the first round of disbursement of $1,000 to the grant applicant, which is then the grantee. So we do have applicant number 10 was conditionally approved at the March 11th, 2025 regular meeting and has completed the application, the agreement, and a motion to approve the disbursement, the initial disbursement for applicant number 10 for a recommendation to do so to the full fiscal court is before us. Squire Varner, would you like to make that motion as well, sir?
Yes, sir. I so move.
Thank you. The motion and the second is before us. Squire Taylor had that second, Madam Clerk. Seeing no questions on the motion, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that motion carries. we are getting to the short rows, to use a farmer analogy, on the Young and New Farmer Grant Program. Madam Clerk, is there anything additional needed on that item? And I'm specifically looking at. That's number 10, and we acted thereon, therefore we are up to date. Once we administer the actions, assuming that the full fiscal court approves same, once we administer those, we will return with a full update of the program to the fiscal court. Any other questions or comments regarding the Young and New Farmer Grant programs? Seeing none. Other related matters. Let me discuss a few things with you all. So, given that we are dealing with the flood, one of the main things that we are dealing with is short-term temporary emergency housing, sheltering for folks. You all have, both the Budget and Finance Committee and the full fiscal court has approved in the past funding through the Woodford Foundation for funds for emergency temporary housing. And so what I'd like to do is ask the committee for a recommendation of approval of allocation of funds. We do have a line item in the budget that is set up specifically for the Woodford Foundation and these type of things that has plenty of funding. I'm going to recommend as a preliminary matter that we recommend to the full fiscal court from the committee an allocation of funds in the amount of $10,000 to the Woodford County Foundation for emergency temporary housing and shelter for the flood relief. And so I'd open up the floor for any questions or comments thereon. If there are not, is there a motion to make that recommendation to the fiscal court? Motion by Squire Carl, second by Squire Taylor. Any other questions or comments regarding that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that motion carries. And I would just say briefly that we do have a shelter set up at the Red Cross has set up a shelter at the Woodford County Senior Center. It is serving temporary housing needs, and that has actually kept that amount lower. But our short-term needs are going to extend into the long-term needs, and Director Chandler is going to update the court on that tonight. We've never been in a situation like this, having to look at long-term housing needs for residents because of a disaster, but we are definitely in that circumstance now. These funds, which are administered by the Woodford County the Woodford Foundation, will go to help us bridge that gap. And I want to give a big shout out to Danny Bradley, who is the chair of the Woodford Foundation. She's obviously a volunteer. She's not paid, but she administers these programs. And what that means is she works with individual families and those who have been displaced and finds them temporary housing. She then works on all of the administrative processes to get whether it's a hotel, Airbnb, or some other arrangement. She does that, and it's a lot of work. It's very intensive, and it can get very sensitive, as you can imagine. And then they have to make some executive decisions on some things which aren't always easy to do. So I want to thank Danny Bradley for her work on that. And I think that there could be a situation where we need more funding in that line item, or excuse me, from that line item to the Woodford Foundation later, but this will definitely give us a stopgap in between our meetings. So thank you for the committee for indulging that. I'm going to go through and look at the finance items that are on our main fiscal court regular meeting agenda, just so we can go over those. So the treasurer will not have her financial report due to the quarter end, but we will be accepting the quarterly report for the fiscal quarter ending March 30, 2021. everybody's had the opportunity to see that, and if there are any questions or comments on that right now, I would take those up. Oh, yeah. And I do have, I do need to return to item number 3 on the agenda as well. So the treasurer is also going to discuss that, as we have traditionally done as a pretty routine matter, that we would send a letter to the Auditor of Public Accounts to request the use of an independent CPA firm for our 24-25 fiscal court audit. That's a motion that we will take up in our full fiscal court meeting. Just want to give everybody some time to understand that. So I am going to return to item number 3, I believe it was, the furniture quote for the Woodford County Government Center. There is a quote from Furniture Solutions in the amount of $7,629.63 for filing and storage at the Woodford County Government Center. Is there a motion to recommend the acceptance of that quote to the full fiscal court? Motion by Squire Carl, second by Squire Taylor. Are there any questions or comments regarding that motion?
I just want to say, the Government Center's been a real big success, and I'm glad we're making some investment for them on that. I know it's been a lot more work for everybody, especially including our maintenance and everybody and the team staffing it. But I just can't tell you how often I hear positive comments about its existence.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Squire Taylor, thank you. So there's a motion on the table. Seeing no further questions or discussions, all those in favor of recommending the acceptance of the furniture quote for the Government Center, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that motion carries unanimously. Returning back to the regular meeting agenda, we have the election equipment maintenance estimate. The county clerk will present that for Harp Enterprises in the amount of $9,640.10 for voting machine maintenance, something that's fairly routine and needs to be done. So I'm going over these items so that we have the opportunity to move quickly through them in our meeting. Another request of the county clerk is to approve the increase of the cash limit in her cash drawers at the Government Center and in the county clerk's office. That cash limit presently is at $50 in each cash drawer, and the request from the county clerk will be to move that from $50 to $100. There's no action that needs to be taken, but that's something that if you have any questions, you can discuss with the county clerk. You all are aware that we have the proposed second reading of our budget amendment for unbudgeted receipts in the amount of $505,574.56. That's a second reading, and it'll be final upon second reading at our fiscal court meeting. And that seems to be the total sum of financial actions that will be before us in the full fiscal court meeting. So, Madam Clerk, any additional items for the Budget and Finance Committee to take up? Are you talking about the Verity printers and the bid? So, the county clerk also has a request to bid printers for the election. The estimate is, I believe, $60,000 some dollars. I think we might have the exact amount of an estimate. If you hold for a moment, I'll get you that. I would say that these are important expenses. I'm sorry, it was $55,500 $30 estimated for printers and other equipment related to printers for the elections. And these are necessary, needed expenses. The only reason that we need to take that up is to have it, because it is budgeted, we need to take it up in order to have a bid because it exceeds our bid threshold. So the recommendation is going to be that we put that out for bid and advertise it. I'll also note that there is only one company, Harp Enterprises, through the Verity printers that provides that, so it's a fairly straightforward and routine matter. And in order to have efficient, safe elections, these are needed items. So, that being the total sum of the Budget and Finances Committee's work, I will deem us adjourned. We will reconvene in fiscal court at 5:30. Thank you all.